Now let us go ahead and set up Ubuntu using Windows Subsystem. It is better to have Linux-based environment to connect to the remote machines and set up big data clusters. Having Ubuntu using Windows Subsystem will facilitate us with these capabilities. We will be able to connect to remote Linux-based servers using SSH. We will be able to copy files using SCP or rsync if it is required from our PC into those remote machines, or even between those remote machines themselves. We will be able to enable proxies such as sshuttle to access web applications running on the servers behind firewall without opening ports to the public using SSH authentication. You will understand this at a later point in time, where we'll be using sshuttle quite extensively to access certain web services that are running on different nodes in the big data cluster. For now, don't worry too much about it. Now let us go through the steps that are required to set up the process. You have to log into the Windows-based machine and search for PowerShell by typing in this search bar. Once this Windows PowerShell comes up, you have to right click on this and you have to say run as administrator and say yes. Let me edit the properties so that it is visible enough. So here we are talking about font and I want to use 24 size. Click on OK and now it is better. Now we can go back to the instructions and we can actually run this command, which will facilitate us to set up Windows Subsystem Linux or Linux using Windows Subsystem. It will just take a moment to execute this command. Once this is executed, you can say yes, which is default. It will restart the Windows based machine. Once it is restarted, we can go to the Microsoft Store and we should be able to set up Ubuntu using Windows Subsystem. Now the restart is completed. I am logging into this machine. As we log into this, at the bottom you can see the Windows Store. You can click on this, and as part of the Windows Store you can actually search for Linux, and you will be seeing different types of Linux on this machine in the store, not on this machine but in the store. You can check the Ubuntu. Either you can use this Ubuntu, I think it is 16.04, or you can actually use the latest one also. Let us set up the latest one. It doesn't matter which version of Ubuntu you have, because we will not be setting up anything locally. We will be using this to connect to the remote machines and perform certain actions. So you just click on get. It will download the necessary software on this and set up Ubuntu using Windows Subsystem on your Windows based machine. It will take a while to download and complete the setup process. Now the download is done. You just have to click on launch. It will open up this Ubuntu based console and it will try to complete the setup process by prompting for username and password. While it is taking care of those things, let us go to the properties, go to font and increase it to 24 so that it is visible for us. Now after a few minutes the installation is done. We just have to complete the setup process by entering the username. Let me give it as dgadiraju and then password. Now I have changed the password and I should be able to use Ubuntu based commands in this environment to take care of whatever we need. If you want to access Windows based file system, you can go to cd/mnt, and as part of this you will be seeing the C drive. You can go to C drive and then into the rest of the directories to access Windows based file system using Ubuntu, because this Ubuntu is running as part of the Windows operating system itself. That being said, now let us also install sshuttle on this. In Ubuntu you can install software using apt. So you can actually say sudo apt-get install sshuttle -y, which will take care of installing sshuttle for us. We'll not be using it immediately, but we'll be taking care of proxying using sshuttle at a later point in time. It is saying unable to locate package sshuttle. Let me see. And I have to use sudo here. Sometimes we might have to first update. Once the update is done, we can try installing schedule now. Now it is working fine. It is actually downloading schedule and setting up on this Ubuntu based machine. We will be using this to proxy into the web applications running behind firewall via SSH at a later point in time. We will be using this quite extensively. So make sure you have schedule as well after setting up Ubuntu using Windows Subsystem on your Windows based machine. If you are using Mac or Linux, you can use Mac terminal or Linux terminal. And using brew or ports, you can actually set up schedule on Mac. Again, in Linux, if you are using Ubuntu, you can use apt to set up schedule. If you are using CentOS based desktop, you have to use yum to install schedule on CentOS based machine. Okay, that being said, now we have necessary tools to set up clusters using Linux based environment on our Windows based system or even Mac or Linux.